Hello and welcome to Connect, the weekly podcast of the California MBA featuring one-on-one interviews with movers and shakers in the mortgage industry. I'm Susan Milazzo, CEO of the California MBA, and very happy that you could join us today. Before I get to introduce today's guest, I'd like to thank our 2025 President's Council sponsors. And these are companies that provide a tremendous amount of financial support to the California MBA, in large part so that we can remain the strong voice for the real estate finance industry before the California State Legislature and our regulators. So please join me in thanking our 2025 President's Council sponsors. And those companies are AmeriHome, Consolidated Analytics, Funding Shield, Guild Mortgage, Rocket Mortgage, Wiener Brodsky Kiter, and Western Alliance Bank. Thank you all so much for your support this year. We really appreciate it. And with that, I'd like to welcome today's guest. I'm welcoming Jon Brod, who is co-founder and CEO of Rome, and somebody that I had the pleasure of meeting at our Mortgage Innovators Conference. Jon, welcome.
Thank you so much, Susan. Great to be with you.
I always like to kind of start with my same-ish question, which is kind of your journey to where you are today, kind of what sparked you to start Rome, and was there like a defining moment or moment of inspiration that said, you know what, this is the platform I'm going to build?
Good question. So I am a serial entrepreneur, just so you know, I'm a four-time founder. I am therefore wired to be sort of constantly thinking about pain points and opportunities in business, with people in the world, and how everything can be better than it is today. So historically, when you start a business, or when I've started my businesses, it's basically been a handful of people in one room. And it's great, right? There's an energy and electricity. It's fast, it's agile. Everyone knows what everyone else is doing. The culture is incredible. You don't schedule meetings for next week. And in fact, you actually really don't schedule meetings at all, right? You just get things done. But as the company grows, almost by definition, you become distributed, right? You have offices and people working remotely, and maybe there's hybrid. And in the mortgage space, more specifically, you have maybe branches that you open up, and you have loan originators that are fanned out in different cities or different states. And everything changes when you hit that inflection point. Things that used to take, Susan, you and me 2 minutes, and we knock out sort of right now, just between us, we end up scheduling for a week from now for an hour-long meeting and we bring in sort of three other people, and then we wake up each morning and we look at all the pre-planned meetings in our calendar, 30 minutes followed by an hour, all sort of back to back. And that is not a good way to run a business or build a culture, right? We sort of know that's suboptimal. But the problem is that the tech that we're using is forcing us to do this, right? Whether it's Microsoft Teams, or we're sort of smashing together Zoom and Slack, we are changing our workflows. We're changing what we know works in order to adapt to the technology. And we think that's backwards. Like, it should be the other way around. The tech should support the workflow. And so that's where we started with Rome, right? How could we create the feeling and the benefits of people being in the same physical space, but actually being anywhere, right? But the vision was a little bigger than that, right? So we didn't want to just build a virtual office. We also wanted to build what we call an office of the future. In some respects, actually better than the physical office, not just replicating the physical office. So in order to do that, we knew we needed to digitize the entire office. And it was only the recent advancements in AI that have allowed us to do that. And so we've added things like an AI inbox, AI note taking, action items and agentic workflows and AI assistants, and even more. And that really was the spark. That was kind of the aha moment, this virtual headquarters plus AI that took what was probably going to be a helpful and good business and turned it into something that we think could be transformative. Humans, AIs working together side by side to make companies AI first and to increase productivity, enhance the culture, and improve efficiency. And so that is really sort of the journey of Rome to date.
That's so exciting. I just think it's a fascinating platform. And typically, we record these in either go to webinar or Zoom or something. Of course, today we are in the Rome environment. I wanted to show everybody kind of how cool the experience is. Can you share with our listeners kind of why this is a better a better choice for conversations like this and for as you refer, workflow efficiency?
Yeah, well, thanks for doing this in Rome. I haven't been on a Zoom call in years, so I wouldn't even know how to navigate that. But I actually, so the biggest difference I think is that Rome is actually 8 applications, 8 features in one, right? So we've got this map, this kind of think of it as like a real-time bird's eye view of everything going on in the office, kind of like a Marauder's map, if you know Harry Potter. Who's in the office, who's not, whose door is locked, who's meeting together. You can invite people into meetings. You can actually even drop into meetings, knock on people's doors, and have a chat with them. And so, as a result of that visibility and spontaneity, the sort of water cooler element here, the average meeting time in Rome is 8 minutes long. It's not 40 minutes like Zoom or Teams, it's 8 minutes, which is cool. So that's one element of Rome. But as I mentioned, we're sort of 8 things in one. So we also have enterprise chat. We are as good, some would argue better than Slack, certainly better than Microsoft Teams chat. We are AI note taking. So if you use Otter or Fireflies or Fathom, you no longer need to use those things. We are AI screen recording. BombBomb, I know, is big in the mortgage industry. Loom, we replace those pieces of software. We are a Calendly competitor, which is super cool. You could schedule meetings in the future, but in addition, you can also set meetings to allow people to drop in. So imagine you have a customer who's looking for a mortgage or has some questions, and they're on your website, and you're available, and we know that. You can allow them to simply drop in there immediately, talk to a salesperson, talk to customer support, capture them when they have the greatest likelihood of conversion, right, which is immediately. We also have a theater. We have thousands of people can fit into a Rome theater. We have a backstage green room, allow you to whisper in rows. Brian Hale and Adam Carmel from Poly recently did a webinar in a Rome theater. It was magical. They had literally hundreds and hundreds of people there. And then most recently, we've introduced what we call On It. On It. It's an AI executive assistant. It helps you out with tasks around the virtual office. It is your eyes and ears. It can also schedule meetings. It can reconcile different calendars and do complex meeting scheduling, send follow-up emails, do follow-up tasks, search across all your meeting notes. We think of it sort of as democratizing EAs, right? Like administrative support shouldn't be a privilege. It should be a right. And imagine if your entire company had access to an EA and how productive they would all be if it were not just relegated to the top sort of handful of people. So in sum, eight apps, 8-minute meetings, all for the everyday low price of $18.88. We're sort of eight crazy. It does sound like an infomercial, but we've been really thoughtful about the pricing. It's super customer friendly. There are no upcharges. There are no setup fees. We only charge month to month, so you can leave at any time. Keeps the pressure on us. We only charge for active users. So think super bundle of 8 apps, all for the price of less than one that you would get individually.
Yeah, and only one vendor that you have to deal with when one of those apps don't perform as planned, which happen occasionally.
One vendor, all your data in one place. You don't have the contact switching of different. What was that in Slack? Was that in Zoom? Everything centralized.
It's been interesting getting to know you and Rome, Jon, because most of the technology that we interact with at the California MBA relates to the mortgage transaction of some sort, right? And obviously, Rome has application across many industries. What do you see its biggest advantage in the mortgage industry?
Yeah, I mean, you said it correct. We have 800 customers all around the world. We have a circus. We have an oyster farm in Australia, literally. But we are massively over-indexing in the mortgage space. And I think when we take a step back, we realize that we were almost tailor-made for the mortgage industry. Mortgage industry is very distributed, right? And it's complex. there are literally dozens of touch points across an entire ecosystem for every loan, right? You've got loan officers or originators, you've got branch managers, you've got real estate partners, underwriters, compliance, support, and more. This is all time consuming. It's complex, as I mentioned. And so to be able to bring visibility into all of that, those interactions, to be able to bring spontaneity, you can knock on the door of somebody and ask a quick question, see when somebody's free and available, and efficiency means that you can meaningfully reduce the time to close, which, as we all know, obviously pays massive dividends in this space. The other thing I would say, and this I've learned more recently, it feels like every conference I go to and every mortgage webinar has some element of acquisition and retention of talent, right? And I get it. It's hard to get LOs up to speed. It's hard to keep them motivated and sort of high producing. And I think Rome really facilitates that, right? It accelerates the ramp up time for a new employee. You can see everybody else in the office and how they're interacting and learn. It boosts culture scores by like 87%, right? So you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself, right? You know that there are people behind you. You know that you're all in this together, ready to take the hill. So I think between acquisition and retention and reducing time to close, it is as I said, sort of tailor made for this industry.
Excellent, excellent. Well, in addition to just being, again, fascinated by their own platform, as I am also a huge fan of entrepreneurs. I had my own small business before I ran this organization, and this is kind of like running a small business. So I know you're a very accomplished entrepreneur, several companies that you founded and launched. What advice would you give for someone that wants to start their own company?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been at the entrepreneurial game for a long time, right? I've seen the ebbs and flows in the market. The first piece of advice I would say is there has never been a better time, in my view, than now to start a company and to build, right? The advancements in AI, which are incredibly well documented, are extraordinary. But beyond that, there are incredible advancements in everything else right now, robotics and biotech and digital currencies and rocket ships and globalization. And so we are it sounds a little hokey. We are sort of ushering in a new era for humanity, a futuristic era. It does feel to me like the Industrial Revolution, the Internet Revolution, the mobile revolution, all rolled up into one. Super exciting. It's very easy to quickly and relatively inexpensively build and start a company. Great opportunity to shape the future and put your stamp on it. So I think my first piece of advice is, like, if you're thinking about it, now is a great time to do it. Don't wait. The world is being sorted out rather quickly in rather large ways right now, and to be a part of that, I think, is exciting. To be, we're in the first inning, so like jump in and get smart about it. And then the only other thing I would say is, like, if I could be of help in any way, I'd love to, right? So I am a founder. I've been a 4-time founder. I also love helping founders. So please reach out, Jon at ro.am, Jon at ro.am. The mortgage industry has been terrific to us in the short amount of time that we've been involved, and I'd love to pay it forward, help out in any way, and with anyone that I can.
That's a great offer. Thank you. Definitely anyone listening who is thinking about starting their own thing, Jon's making himself available, help you out there. Jon, as I said, we met earlier this year. You became a member of our organization. You're part of the Mortgage Innovators Conference. I do believe you'll be at the Western Secondary Market Conference. So thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it. Can you share with our listeners why you choose to support the California MBA?
Of course. So when you're entering a new market, right, and that's what the mortgage industry has been for us, you basically, or what I did, was look for the best organizations with the best people around, right? National organizations, regional organizations to help, right? I just talked about helping entrepreneurs. I needed help. We needed help, right? How do we navigate this industry? Who should I talk to? who can answer my questions, who can make introductions for me. And so when I met you, Susan, and you came into Rome and we had our first meeting, I was like, okay, these are my people, right? They reminded me of there are these pizza boxes in New York. I assume they're everywhere as well. It says like, "You've tried the rest, now try the best." And that's honestly the way I felt after meeting you and your team. So we immediately sponsored the Innovators Conference in Huntington Beach, as you mentioned. It was great for us. We are excited to sponsor the Western Secondary Conference. The people involved in CMBA and that you have introduced us to have been extraordinary. Paul, Chuck Iverson, Ike, Kevin Peranio, Brad and Susan Livingston, like who were better than they? Brian Hale, Dave Savage, John Headland. We had a dinner at the Innovators Conference with many of those people, and it was just magical. These people have pioneered the industry. I don't need to tell you that, you know that. But to be welcomed by them as sort of the new kids with such open arms has been everything to us, and we are so grateful for the support, and we couldn't be more pleased with our relationship with the MBA.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And we are equally as grateful for your support. I look forward to seeing you just in a few weeks at Western Secondary Market Conference. Thanks for being on Connect Podcast.
My pleasure. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for joining us today. To access any of our past episodes, you can follow us on our YouTube channel. We're also available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. That's it for this week, and we'll see you next time on Connect.